I didn't just give him a piece of me. I carved myself out so he could stay whole. The anesthesia was wearing off, replaced by a jagged, tearing fire in my lower back. Every step felt like walking on broken glass. I dragged my forepole down the sterile white hallway, ignoring the nurses whispering behind. Is that the donor? Shouldn't she be in bed? They didn't get it. I wasn't just a donor. I was Wien, the girl who had spent 3 years waiting in the wings of Jungkook's life. I leaned against the cold wall, gasping for breath. My mind flashed back to 2 days ago, the doctor's office. The grim faces. Jungkook needed a kidney immediate transplant. And Yoonha, his official girlfriend? I remember her checking her acrylic nails, looking bored. Babe, I can't get tested. I have Fashion Week in Paris on Thursday. It's my big break. You understand, right? She left him to die for a runway walk, and I stayed to die for him. It was always like this. Jungkook treated me like a broken vending machine. He kicked me when he was frustrated, shake me when he needed something, and ignore me when he was full. I was the 3 a.m. text. I was the "can you pick up my dry cleaning friend?" I was the placeholder he used to make Yoonha jealous. You're a good kid. Lie in, he'd say, messing up my hair after I spent my rent money on his birthday gift. That was it. That was the crumb I survived on for months. But this time was different. I pushed open the heavy door to the VIP recovery suite. The room smelled like expensive lily and antiseptic. And there he was, Chun Jungkook, looking like a fallen god amidst the white sheets. The steady beep, beep, beep of the monitor was the only music in the room. Sound was me. That was my kidney filtering his blood. My sacrifice keeping his heart beating. I limped to the bedside, my hand shaking as I reached out. I traced the veins on his hand. He was warm. I was freezing. This changes everything, I told myself, the delusion tasting sweet on my tongue. When he wakes up, he'll know. You don't take a vital organ from a girl and just treat her like a sidekick. I was waiting for the movie scene, the tears, the confession, the realization that I was the one all along. His eyelids fluttered. My heart slammed against my bruised ribs. Jungkook? I whispered. My voice raw groaned, a low, pained sound. Slowly, those obsidian eyes opened. They were hazy, swimming with confusion. He blinked, trying to focus. His gaze locked on mine. I smiled, tears spilling over. I waited for it. Why, Anne? You saved me? Why? And I love you. He blinked again, his brow furrowing. He pulled his hand away from mine like I burned him. He looked around the empty room, panic rising in his chest. He tried to sit up, straining against his own fresh stitches, his eyes darting frantically past me, through me, as if I were a dead ghost. Where is she? My smile cracked. The air vanished from the room. What? His voice was a dry rasp, scratching against the silence. It wasn't soft. It was demanding, he choked out, ignoring the girl in the patient gown bleeding through her bandages next to him. She said she'd be here. She promised me. He looked at me, then really looked at me with cold, annoyed eyes. The same eyes he used when I showed up uninvited to his parties. Why are you here, Widen? I asked for Yoonha. He didn't ask why I was pale. He didn't ask why I was holding in forepole. He didn't ask how I got into the recovery room. He just wanted the girl who chose Paris over his life. I stood there, the fresh stitches in my side screaming, realizing that I had cut myself open to pour life into a man who wished I was someone else. Every breath I took was a shallow gasp, fighting against the fire burning through my abdomen. I am bleeding for you, I screamed internally. I am literally missing an organ for you. Damn it, I needed to see you, I whispered. My voice was thin, trembling with the effort of standing. Sweat pricked at my hairline. I was worried. Jungkook let out a sharp, cruel exhale. He stared at the ceiling, looking bored. I'm fine. I'm alive, obviously. As you can see, now stop hovering. You look terrible, by the way. Go home and rest. Home. I didn't have a home anymore. I spent my rent money on his post-op care package that was sitting unopened in the corner. Before I could drag my broken body out of the room, the door swung open. Dr. Kim walked in, smiling like he'd just won the lottery. He didn't see the tension. He didn't see the tears welling in my eyes. Mr. Chun, incredible recovery stats. The doctor beamed, looking between us, and I see the hero is up and walking. You shouldn't be out of bed yet, YN. You gave a kidney, not a pint of blood. The air in the room instantly turned poisonous. Jungkook went rigid. The steady beep-beep of the heart monitor spiked, erratic and fast. He slowly turned his head. His eyes weren't hazy anymore. They were wide, sharp, and terrifyingly clear. "What did you just say?" Jungkook asked, his voice dangerously low. Kim paused, confused. "The transplant. Leon here is your donor, Chun. She was a perfect match." "It's a miracle, really." Jungkook looked at me. He looked at the second hospital bracelet on my wrist. He looked at the way I was clutching my side, protecting the empty space where a part of me used to be. "No," he muttered, shaking his head. "No. Tell me you can sense the danger," and quietly slipped out, closing the door with a soft click. We were alone again. "Jungkook, please." I stepped forward, sobbing now, the salt of my tears stinging my face. "There was no time. You were fading. Yoonha wasn't there. I couldn't let you just die." "Shut up." The scream tore from his throat, so loud it rattled the tray table. He grabbed a glass of water from the bedside and hurled it at the wall. It shattered, shards of glass raining down near my bare feet. He tried to lunge at me, but the wires held him back. He ripped the pulse oximeter off his finger, the monitor flatlining with a high-pitched scream that matched the chaos in his eyes. "You psycho," he spat, his face twisted in disgust. "You obsessed, manipulative psycho. I saved you." I cried out, the pain in my stitches tearing sharper now, a warm wetness spreading under my gown. "I gave you life. I didn't want ID from you." He slammed his fist against the mattress. "Do you think this is kin romantic? Do you think this is love? You forced yourself inside me. Why in? You carved yourself into my body without my permission." He was gasping for air, his chest heaving, his eyes wild with hatred. "You knew exactly what you were doing," he hissed, his voice dropping to a venomous whisper. "You knew I loved Yoonha. You knew I was finally happy. So you did this to shackle me to you. No. No, I just wanted you to live." I fell to my knees, the pain too much to bear. "You didn't save me." He leaned over the bed rail, staring down at me like I was something he stepped in. "You violated me. Now, every time I breathe, every time my heart beats, I have to know it's powered by you. You've polluted me. You've ruined my body because you couldn't handle the fact that I didn't want you." He pressed the nurse call button aggressively. "Get her out," he growled, not looking at me anymore. "Get this thing out of my sight before I rip this kidney out myself." I lay curled on the cold floor among the broken glass, clutching my bleeding side, realizing that I hadn't saved the man I loved. I had just created a monster who hated the very blood that kept him alive. I was dragged out by security like a criminal, not to a recovery bed, but back to a cold shared ward because I couldn't afford the VIP treatment Jungkook was currently soaking in. I lay there for hours, staring at the peeling paint on the ceiling, the wetness on my side confirming I had popped a stitch. But I didn't call the nurse. I wanted to feel the pain. It was the only thing I had left that was actually mine. After hours coloned, the first thing I heard wasn't the steady beep of my heart monitor. It was the sharp, aggressive click of high heels on the floor and the frantic pulse of camera shutters. I woke up with a gasp, my hand flying to my side. The pain was raw, a burning, jagged sensation that made every breath feel like I was inhaling broken glass. I felt hollow. I was hollow. A piece of me had been cut out and stitched into the man in the room next door. I forced myself out of bed, my body trembling so hard I nearly collapsed. My hospital gown was damp with cold sweat. I didn't call for any help. I didn't even grab the 4-pole. I just used the wall to keep myself upright, leaving faint, shaky handprints on the paint as I dragged myself toward the noise. The hallway of the VIP wing was a nightmare. Reporters were crowded around room 302 like vultures. And right in the middle of them was Yoonha. She looked perfect. Absolutely perfect. While I was gray-faced and covered in blood-stained bandages, she was wearing a silk suit and smelled like expensive perfume and absolute lies. "It was so terrifying," she was telling a reporter, dabbing a fake tear from her eye. "But love comes first." When I heard Jungkook was in trouble, I dropped everything in Paris. I'm just happy that anonymous donor search worked out, so I could be here to help him recover. She wasn't just taking the credit. She was erasing me. She was turning my sacrifice into a marketing stunt. I pushed through the crowd. Every step felt like my stitches were being ripped open. I was bleeding through my gown, a dark red stain spreading across the fabric, but nobody looked at me. They only had eyes for the star. I reached the door. Jungkook was sitting up, his face pale but already looking more alive than he had in months. He was looking at Yoonha with a soft, worshipful smile that made my heart ache more than my surgery wound ever could. "You're back," he whispered, his voice full of a tenderness I hadn't heard in years. "I thought I'd lost you." "Never," Yoonha cooed, leaning down to kiss his forehead. She made sure to hold the pose long enough for the cameras to catch it. "I'm the only one who belongs here to you, babe." "Jungkook?" My voice was a tiny, broken sound. The room went cold. The cameras turned toward me, their lenses focusing on my messy hair and my blood-soaked gown. I looked right. Eunha's eyes flashed with hate for a split second before she put on a mask of fake worry. "Oh, Hien," she gasped, her voice dripping with poison sweetness. "Look at you, you should be in bed. I know you helped with the donor paperwork, but Jungkook needs his privacy now." I didn't even look at her. I looked straight at him, the man whose life was literally being sustained by my body. "You're letting her do this? You're letting her pretend she stayed while I was the one on that table? I was the one who saved you." Jungkook's face hardened. The warmth he had for Yuno vanished, replaced by a cold, sharp disgust. "You didn't see my shaking hands?" He didn't see the blood on my gown. "Stop making a scene," he said, his voice flat and dead. "Yoonha is my girlfriend. She's the one I want here. She's the only one who matters. But I gave you," my voice cracked as a sob tore through my chest. "I gave you my life. A part of me is inside you right now." Jungkook's lip curled in total loathing. He didn't see a savior. He saw an embarrassment. "You gave me a debt I never asked for." He snapped, his voice loud enough to make the reporters whisper. He grabbed Yuna's hand, locking his fingers with hers to keep her away from me. "You think buying your way into my body makes me love you? It makes me hate you even more." He leaned forward, his eyes cold and dark. "If you really loved me, why me, you would have died in silence. You would have given what you had to give and disappeared." The world seemed to stop. I felt the floor tilt. I was still standing, but I felt like I had just been executed. "Instead," he continued, his voice full of scorn, "you're standing here bleeding, begging for a thank you, like a dog waiting for a scrap. It's pathetic. You're not a hero. You're just a mistake I want to forget." The reporters started whispering. "Is she the donor? Is she a stalker?" Yoonha leaned into him, whispering loud enough for the mics to hear. "Don't get upset, babe. It's bad for the new kidney. The lawyers already have the papers ready. We'll pay her a high price for the service, and she'd be gone by morning." Jungkook didn't blink. He didn't defend me. He didn't say a word as his girlfriend offered to buy like I was a piece of used equipment. "Make it a high price." Jungkook muttered, turning his head away from me and burying his face in Yuna's neck. "I want her out of my sight. I want to forget she ever touched my life." The sound of the cameras felt like a firing squad. Finally, I backed away, my legs feeling like lead. I was nothing in that room. I was just a shadow that had been paid to go away, turned and moved toward the exit, my hand clutching the wound that felt like a permanent mark of shame every step I took. I felt the kidney he hated working perfectly inside him, keeping his heart beating so he could love someone else. I was the one who survived the surgery, but as the heavy hospital doors shut behind me, leaving me in the cold, rainy night, I finally understood. I was the only one who'd actually died on that table. And the worst part? He didn't even care enough to bury me.